Hi, this is the add-on to the central place theory with a hierarchy of consumer services. Some of the classes, or one of the classes, will be meeting extra on Wednesday, and we'll be able to cover this. The other one is not, but it's very important for everybody to go through it. So here it is for you guys. First of all, just kind of a quick review. They refer to nesting of services and settlements as having all these different hexagons with the central place theory and having different sizes kind of resting on top of each other. So recap, central place theory is depicted in hexagons. The activities, it says activities from the past 2 days. We did not get a chance to do all of those. But essentially, with different size communities and different size services, you have different gravitational pulls. Like I said, a coffee shop is going to have a gravitational pull that's going to cover maybe a 3-mile range, where the professional baseball team, like the Milwaukee Brewers or the Milwaukee Bucks, their gravitational pull is much larger because they are a much larger entity. The city of Milwaukee, because it has more services inside of it, has a larger nesting of services. It has more things to provide versus, say, Mukwonago. So nesting size matter? Yes, you bet it does. Here it is in picture form. This might be the market area for the coffee shop. This might be a market area for Best Buy, and then this is market area for the Milwaukee Brewers. Likewise, if you have market area for Little League Baseball, okay, or high school baseball, and then you have the market area for, let's say, a minor league team, like the Beloit Snappers, okay, this is the amount of area they're going to cover. The Milwaukee Brewers, they have a much larger nesting area, or a much larger market area, and so as a result, the number of professional baseball teams we have in the country are much fewer than the number of minor league baseball teams. There's about 7 minor league baseball teams for every 1 professional baseball team in the United States. Okay, so it comes to provide the question, are there enough services to go around? I did not take this picture. I kind of wish I did. It looks kind of crazy. But it's actually out in Nevada. Okay, so the United States, which is a very developed country, has areas where there may not be enough services to go around. Here in this picture, driving on US Highway 6, the next gas station is 167 miles away. That gives you a sense of being remote. Okay, so depending on the development of a certain region will determine if there's enough services to go around. The more developed countries, yes. Okay, this picture from Nevada does represent that there's not always across the entire country enough services, but for the most part, yes, there are enough services to go around. So one way to measure the development of services is a fun little math project. Okay, there's 2 different phenomena that are described, one as rank size distribution and the other as primate cities, okay, or primate city rule. The rank size rule is when you have a country's, and so we got to jump to algebra here, n is going to represent a number. So a country's nth largest settlement is 1 over n, the population of largest settlement. So if that nth is a 2, so the country's second largest settlement, you can replace the word settlement for city. The country's second largest city is 1 over 2, which is 1/2 the population of the largest city. Likewise, if you were to find the 5th largest city, it is 1/5 the population size of the largest city in that country. Okay, so here it is written out. Second largest city is 1/2 the size of the largest city. 5th largest city, 1/5 the size of the largest city. Okay, so the United States, does this work? It seems kind of crazy. Largest city in the United States is New York City at 8.3 million people. The second largest city in the United States is Los Angeles at 3.9 million people. So yes, it's not 100% perfect division, but that's pretty darn close. We could kind of run down the list, take a guess. Well, what do you think is the 3rd, 4th, 5th? 5th largest city is Philadelphia which is about 1.5 million people. 1/5 or of 8 million is about 1.5 million. Not perfect, but pretty darn close. So close enough for the United States to fit into this rank size theory. So Primate City is going to be when the largest settlement is more than double. So more than 2 times the population of the second largest city. And not larger in the sense where, oh gosh, they're off by 100 people, but it's going to be grotesquely larger, if you will. For example, Mexico City, okay, 8.5 million people. The second largest city is Ecatepec, which is 1.7 million people. The difference there is grotesquely different. You can't just take 1.7 and double it. That gives you 3.4, which is still not even half of the 8 million people from Mexico City. So when you do this, you have to make sure that you're also looking at city proper, not just the city area. So if you think of like Milwaukee, Milwaukee is about 500,000 people. But if you look at the Milwaukee area, that expands to include the populations of West Allis, maybe Brookfield, so you're not going to get as accurate of a number. So if you jump online to look up cities, make sure you're finding the actual city population and not the city area. And you can do this by typing in the city proper. Okay, so Mexico City, you could do Mexico City proper population. And then you should get a more specific number. So who cares? What does this all mean? Rank size rule, when you have a country that has wealth to provide citizens throughout the entire country, then you have this rank size rule take place. It justifies having large cities throughout the country in different areas because they have the wealth, they have the development to provide for people all across the country. In a primate city, it generally means that they're lacking certain resources to have services across the country. Okay, so as a result, people aren't spread out evenly across the country or proportionately across the country. Instead, they have a tendency to cluster in a certain area, in the main service area, disproportionately than the rest. If you think of Mexico, people settling in Mexico City at 8.3 million compared to the second largest city what was it? We had 1.7 million in Ecatepec. That just shows that they can't afford to have those services proportionally spread across the country, and so people flock to that larger city in order to get jobs and to get services that they need. So your homework assignment to go along with this, there's a worksheet that is on Schoology that you can print off. But essentially you are going to search online and you're going to look up city populations for 5 different countries. And you want to identify if that country has either the primate city rule taking place or the rank size distribution taking place. So here's your reminder. Make sure to measure the city population and not the city area. So you'll get different numbers and that'll throw off your results. Also keep in mind that this is not 100% across the world. So you may find a country that doesn't really fit. Okay? So on your worksheet, it's okay to say this country does not fit either phenomena. It does not fit primate cities. It does not fit rank size distribution because. And then just explain why it doesn't fit. Tell me how the numbers don't line up. And that's how you'll get all the points. All right? So good luck. Have fun with it. And be sure to check out countries that you may think are no-brainers. Because just because a country is lesser developed does not mean they're going to fall into a primate city. If a country is a more developed country, it does not mean it's going to fall into that rank size rule. Okay, it's just a phenomena that takes place with the distribution of services. So check it out. Try to do a couple of developed countries, a couple lesser developed countries, and see what you find.